Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another commentary on Rainbow Dash Presents, starring myself and, of course, Petirep.
Hello.
Hello. We will discuss tangentially related things that have to do sort of with My Little Dashie and the work that we produced, and we might even discuss why we actually did some of the things that we did.
Maybe.
Maybe, yes. So in any case, I suppose we have stuff to discuss, but none of it too terribly related specifically to this episode. We could hit on it, but
I have some technical stuff I can talk about.
oh really? Regarding this stuff?
Yeah.
All right, go.
Oh, well, not right now, but
Okay, then when we are watching, so let's go ahead and start it up. I got 3, 2, 1, go.
all right.
The Rainbow Dash presents My Little
Nice
Dashie.
fancy new intro here.
Yep, everything all updated after a lot of art change and a lot of changes in general.
Harry
Yeah.
lived his life like any
We
normal
didn't really realize
experiencing one event after
how much the
another.
voices had changed for like Dash and whatnot until I released the new mentally advanced series that I saw. People were like, the voices are different. The voices are different.
No time travel or anything
And,
for the most part, except for forward.
I had no
which
idea.
isn't
I just
bad, 'cause
been rolling along with it.
But it's
First
probably
After
something
Effects
Harry
shot
is
right
really
there.
good at having.
And now it's done.
He's more good at being
Yeah.
angry at the
This is
same
like the
time
gritty,
as
the most, the grittiest part of the entire animation,
It's the death of his parents,
and
spends each night
it set a
traveling
completely
with
different
them,
tone than what we went with in the end.
in the first place. He
It was
spends a lot
fun.
of time staring
The
at
stuff that he's looking up on the screen, that was leftovers from the ad video that we made for the cookie train. That was just leftovers that I had over. So I just stuck it on the screen there. He's trying to watch cupcakes.
And that box would change his life forever.
Yes. See, some people were excited because they were like, "Oh yeah, Batman will be great. Like Dash will be Robin and all these other things." And that would have been good if Dash ever like got to leave the house in the original fic. But for the most part, she just stayed at home and she kind of played a comfort role to the main character of the story. And so that's kind of the angle that we played. Is there was like all this, like Harry's just this weird dude, and he just finds a magical horse, and he's just like, this horse I need to take home, and then just keep it safe from the outside world for the rest of its existence. But anyway, yes, this is featuring Alice, one of our new voice actors. I believe that when we first started recording this, that Spottable Bus was out of town, so we just got some new ladies. One of them, Alice, who did the Harry Wayne, and the other one, Kenza, who did
Joker Mort.
yes, who did Joker Morton, who also I started seeing during the production of this and whatnot, which is actually rather more difficult than it sounds, considering that she lives in Denmark. So she actually enticed me all the way out to lands abroad and whatnot. She's kind of fun, but we'll see more from both Alice and Kenza. We've got them; they're actually working with us now. So, yep.
So there's actually lots of changes to at least animation quality in this episode alone, because I started off still using my iPad 1, which I've been using for all the other animations that we've been doing. So you'll notice that the image sizes are a lot smaller here at the beginning, and things are a little bit blurry because I was still exporting them as JPEGs, because that's really the only thing I could export them as. But then I finally upgraded to a new iPad 3 about, I don't know, a third of the way through the production of this. And I still kept the image size the same, but everything will look a lot clearer because I was able to export them at a higher quality format. And then eventually during the song portion, I even made the canvas size much bigger. So if you look closely, you'll notice everything becomes a lot more HD as the episode progresses.
This whole scene with Dash like destroying the house. Actually, this was based on stuff I used to watch from The Dog Whisperer, where you find out like the dogs get just like they're like cooped up and just like really insecure and they have nothing to do, so they just wreck the house. And so I figured Dash should probably do the exact same thing. Also, too, I was gonna go back earlier on. She mentioned that they were killed by a horrible Lord Wizard Spirochete. Spirochete is actually a kind of it's the bug that's responsible for causing syphilis. So actually, Harry Potter's parents killed by syphilis, which is really silly if you think about it, because there have been like cures for syphilis since pretty much the disease became real, or became a thing. But yeah, they killed Harry Potter's family regardless. Harry Wayne's family.
This scene wrestled some people's jimmies.
Ah, yes. You know,
It's
I
my
remember.
favorite scene.
I remember when I first saw that. Like, of course, I didn't think of the Jimmy wrestling thing, but it just always cracked me up. Like gorilla munch, and they're like, "This is organic gorilla saving food." I don't know if they still do this, but for a while they were advertising that like every time you buy Gorilla Munch, some of the money saves gorillas. And I don't know if they still do that or if it's just gorilla cereal now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, and here we have Devonda, Petirep's first voiced character, and
Yeah. My family didn't recognize me.
yes, I like. And then people were like, "How come LaFonda was still played by a little girl?" But I get that too with sometimes Rainbow Dash and Rarity and even Fluttershy. It's just like people are like, sometimes they I don't know, like it's just something about the characters being female that people kind of naturally assume that they're voiced by girls if they have a higher voice, a higher pitch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's really fun. My brother didn't recognize me when I was sitting there right next to him while we were watching this, and then my mom didn't recognize that it was me until she saw my voice in the credits. And I'm like, seriously, you didn't recognize it was me? Okay. Well, I guess that's good since everybody thought I sounded like a girl. So
yes, you did a convincing job.
yes,
God, barbers.
it was
I
hard.
like-
Yeah, it was hard doing a different voice in another voice. And then also apparently I had whooping cough when I was doing these voices. That's why I was That's why I was coughing so much around this time.
It's okay. We edited all that stuff out. I don't think we got a lot of bloopers saved for this one. I know we had some, but I don't think I went back and saved a bunch of. We usually get a lot from Alan and DeMarcus, just because they just keep rolling, like, and then they just say like bizarre stuff, and then they just like record that, and they're just like, oh, send it to Greg. They'll also like name their lines like weird stuff and things like that, or they don't name the lines. They put commentary like saved within the lines and so.
Oh no, my dad came home. Right then, I realized that if I went through that door, my monkey dad would see me and know for sure I broke the rules.
So around here is where I started using the new iPad and everything's a little bit higher quality. But only slightly.
Yes. So the Harry Wayne thing, I just kind of like the idea of like it's a situation, like it's a really actually common character trope to have a character who they're born in a low position or they're just stuck in a bad position, you know, and then they rise up out of the gutter through almost just like by being discovered more or less. It's kind of it's a really common thing in vicarious storytelling. Like it's like you're in a place that's not where you want to be and then you just rise up and you're better. And they find that, I mean, in reality, most people are going to be the same level of happiness no matter where they are in life. Like,
That'll just make him angry. Trust me, little Dashie. There is no better place for you than here with me.
so,
But if you want,
but it really does.
tomorrow I can stuff you down my shirt and we can go to the park.
So people kind of believe that,
Would you like a
you know, like if you're in a bad spot and you get someplace better, then sure enough, yeah, you know, your life will improve. But for the most part, you maintain just pretty much a certain level of happiness. Like if you win the lottery, then usually you're about as happy as you were before you won the lottery.
I haven't been
It's just
happy
one of those
since
things
all
that.
my parents died.
You know, so Harry Wayne here, he's got the Harry Potter thing, he's also Batman, he's probably got some other stuff going on that we never see. Like he's got a Rainbow Dash, but he's still kind of just a slightly unhappy individual. And you know, so it's just one of those things. Like in the original fic, he's just like, my parents are dead and I live in a bad neighborhood and everything's going terrible. And then he kind of just enslaves Dash to making himself feel better. And then he feels better. And it's like his whole life has improved because of Rainbow Dash. And it's not really how it works. I mean, especially because you've got to take care of kids. You've got to worry about their needs. There's love, and then there's nurture. And sure enough, the guy in the original Rainbow Dash, the original My Little Dashie, he loves Dash, but he doesn't really nurture her very much. I mean, he feeds her, he sometimes takes her out to play, but like honestly, like you couldn't even really take care of a dog like he takes care of Rainbow Dash. You need to let the dog out and just run around sometimes.
Yeah, it's just kind of a selfish one-way kind of love.
Yeah, so I mean, he uses Dash to nurture himself, but he's not really nurturing Dash herself, and so. And of course, the dad dollars thing, the lawn killing thing, kind of cracked me up every time I saw that. I don't know why.
There's something about this shot that I just find hilarious. Just
Just Dash lying over there, like totally fat, like in a barren lawn, and like LaFawn over there doesn't care. Whatever. She's been growing up with Dash her whole life.
I'm gonna hurl myself off the roof. Talk me out of it,
Of course, spider monkeys only. Well, they were supposed to be spider monkeys. They wound up being, I guess, orangutans in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were only gonna have like lifespans of like 6 years, and like Dash was gonna outlive them by like miles.
Well, Harry Wayne's a spider monkey, so he's
Oh yeah, so
Harry Wayne, the wizard bat spider monkey.
the Joker more too. Yeah, only about like 6 or 8 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Joker Mort specifically, I kind of based off of Capuchin with that kind of color.
So Kenza got really into this character. She was really attached to him. When she found out that the script, she didn't realize that the script had him die of heavy metal poisoning at the end. She got really mad at me when she found out. She's like, "Why?" She goes, "Why does he die?" And I'm like, "Well, because he loves a robot, and so like you're not supposed to, because they're not safe for a lot of physical contact. They've got exposed parts that are okay." So
spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if you guys are watching the commentary, you've already seen.
Hopefully.
I'm a big girl
Yeah.
and I can watch myself. I have been doing it since
But it's like the Joker Mort doesn't have safety standards. He doesn't protect the robots from like having exposed lead or anything like that.
The lighting was fun in this scene.
Well, I guess so. I mean, like, I've never really been swimming. Is it very hard to learn?
No! I'm going to lower you into the acid.
You mean, you're not
Now, one of the reasons actually that the Joker Mort, he's got an accent, and it's not an intentional accent. It's actually because Kenza is Danish, and that's actually just her normal accent kind of coming through into the character. But it wasn't a big deal because it actually just made the character seem that much more kind of clumsy and ineffectual as like a villain. Because not only he's like small and he's like silly he's got makeup on and he's not really that like he's kind of like hilariously evil but not really that villainous. And the fact that he had the accent too, which made it was just like one more communication barrier that just made it hard to like the really high pitched voice and just everything. And so it just kind of made him like a little bit cuter and just a little bit, less intimidating. So it was just sort of like that worked out really well. And this is the face of fear. I teased her so much after she sent me that line. It's like, you have the face of fear, Kenza. And she goes, no. For a while that was a catchphrase. It was like, Kenza had the face of fear.
One of the hardest things about drawing the monkeys is that I would always forget the tail.
So, hey, do you make
Yes. It doesn't. They don't really like use it for anything. They just
Yeah. I kind of made it useful for Harry at the beginning. He was holding his Batman mask, but
I would love to.
other than that, they don't really use the tails for much.
Dash, where are you? Don't hide.
See, in the original fic, there was actually a scene where Dash does run away, but all she does is she just goes someplace isolated where no one ever finds her.
Okay, this is going to sound crazy.
And then he finds
But have you seen
her
a
in
bright
like
blue winged
no time at all.
pony around
Yeah,
here?
he goes out in the rain and like cries, and then she comes to him, and she's like, "I'm hungry and tired and cold, and take me home." And that was probably sad for me, that part of the fic, because it was like Dash tried to get away, and she's a horse, so she could have lived on grass, but she just wasn't prepared for the fact that the outside world is challenging. She lived in indoor heating all her life, and
What? No.
I don't know. I was actually considering, instead of having her run off with the Joker Mort, she was just gonna run off and she was gonna go live with normal horses, and then like try to strike up conversation with the normal horses for the longest time, and then go home when she got bored. But the Joker Mort idea was a lot more
Talk
fun.
to your daughter. Have you seen a magic pony?
Actually, I think one of the ideas I threw out there was that she was from Toontown.
Oh, so they'd have like she could go. Oh, she would like do that.
Yeah, I guess because she's like a cartoon character.
Yeah. Well, we never really touched on that.
No.
In the original fic, she was just like a cartoon horse that was in the real world, like in Toontown, or not like in. Well, yeah, like I mean, like
Roger
from
Rabbit.
Rabbit. Yeah. The phone. Boudica. If you didn't know, actually, Boudica was a Celtic warrior
No,
queen,
not really.
and
Where did
so
you
it's
see a
actually
magic pony?
this pretty axe wielding name that we gave this character. And
graduation dress.
Oh no.
Somebody.
And actually, DeMarcus was the one who gave her full name. She was like Boudica Stephanie Cadillac Washington. Like, he just rattled that off, and I was like, all right, print it, keep it, it's good.
I have to go.
That is a good name for.
It's okay.
Yes, the cameo and Smeg's bar.
It's very fun.
Yes.
When you finish, the audience will applaud you.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not very fast at reading though.
And
I
the
really like to read, but
song.
all I have is
Yeah, what's actually kind of interesting because I've been trying to talk Kenza into like if we go to a con, we actually probably we got an invite to BronyCon, but I haven't responded to it yet because we've got to come up with a way to pay for our travel expenses whenever we go places. Plus, it's also in the summer at the same time as the other con we're going to.
Yeah, around the same time.
Yeah, so I haven't figured out what I would want to tell them yet. But I've been talking to Kenza about going to cons just because she wants to come out to the States and travel a whole lot. So she's like, come out to the conventions with me. I want her to do like a duet with me. And so she's just been so reluctant, She's just like, no, people will see me. And I'm like, I know, but they'll think you're great. And so I've been trying to convince her to do that kind of thing. We'll see. It depends on whether or not she can come out. Flying out to the States is not cheap. Flying out to see her is not cheap either, but I have a very minimalistic kind of lifestyle. I don't really spend my money on anything, so. Fluttershy pony.
Yeah, one of my favorite monkey puns was just back there. It said, Bashaki
Oh yes,
writes Shakespeare.
that was pretty clever. I like.
Yeah, I think that was something that somebody recommended on DeviantArt when I asked for monkey puns, and they're just like, "How about like an ape writing Shakespeare on a laptop?" I'm like, "Yes, that has to be a joke song."
This scene, we got to point this scene out. If you guys didn't catch this is actually from a comic called The Dark Knight Returns, wherein the Joker goes to a theme park and he hands out poisonous cotton candy and he murders like a whole Cub Scout troop with it. And so we just kind of had a casual reference to blatant child murder there. So yeah, now you guys are aware of that horror.
And
Got
that was Alice.
Yes,
Yeah.
Alice here. Chucked a ball in her face. Sorry, Alice.
Garrow.
Yes. I love that. I love the theme songs and the outro for that show.
Sergeant Frog.
Yes, thumbtacks, and the whirly ride, and a rubber chicken just for good measure.
And there's DeMarcus.
Some people talked about this was based on some Texas stuff, like the Alico building, and also I believe that this Ferris wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ferris wheel wasn't intentional, but that the Alico building and that rope bridge or whatever it is are actual structures that were in the town that I used to live in.
Dad says that all the time, but
City
coming
of
from
Waco.
someone who's not my dad, that just makes me
Then
feel
also
a little
that
special.
one banana-looking building is kind of a mixture of a banana and that sailboat-looking building
I
from
know. My dad
the
sucks.
United Arab Emirates or whatever it's called.
And of course, we've got a reference to the movie here. You can't go without that. But it was much more beautiful and romantic. Had the Joker, if the Joker loved anyone, and I'm sure this is how he would have expressed it.
Yes.
Well, he loved Harley, I guess, in kind of a horrible way.
Where have you
Yeah, that was kind of like taking advantage. of it,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah, it was sort of an abusive relationship. I think he was not the kindest of partners.
No.
But look at this. What is this? This acid isn't.
And then Harry making his intro more intimidating than the villain.
Temperature.
Are you sure? I thought I set the bath to a simmer.
You turned it off.
It was one of those things. Is
So much as a ransom note? And you, young lady, what are you doing dressed like?
Kenza's just such a she's got such a I don't know. Her personality is so not well geared to the villain thing, and
Oh well, that's a relief. You're not
That's why it's
allowed to
perfect.
have beer.
Why?
yeah. But this was pretty good on the part of Alice too, though. It's just
Yeah.
the way she played this character was also really good. That we got a good dynamic going between the two characters, and for the fact that both girls have never really done. I don't know about Alice. She's done some stuff before, but Kenza's never had. Yeah, she's done it a little bit before. But they're pretty. Yeah, but they're pretty good for not having really much experience. They're better than when I started for sure. But
Oh my god,
I was actually going to make that previous scene
bat
with the
who lived.
Harry Wayne in the dark. I was actually going to make Harry be a little bit meaner to the Joker more, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate. Like I was gonna have him like actually like grab him by the shirt and like talk to him angrily, but I'm like,
Yeah, a little bit
Nah.
too. Because Harry's not really like a bad guy in the original
Yeah.
fic. He's just a little needy to the point of being harmful. You know, and like this whole thing, I also kind of like that. You said I would get dissected, but I didn't get dissected all day. And like I just like in the fic, that's the actual justification he gives. It's like, oh, the government. Yeah, I found a rare and magical creature. The government surely is just gonna cut its head off and look at the insides. Like, oh, okay. Like, what branch of the government does that?
the dissection branch.
Yeah, like there's a bureaucratic system for like finding endangered animals and then murdering them. Like, I don't think that's yeah. So I just like
Also, I'd like to correct the record here. That is not Michael Jackson in the background. That is Bubbles.
although that is the IKEA monkey who is LaFonda's boyfriend.
Yes. What's his name again?
I think it's gonna come up. She's gonna
David.
say
David.
Yeah, you know my Dan David, right? Yeah.
Last week for making fun of the rims on his car. They were all like, "Oh, hey, nice rim job," and David shot him.
Wow.
Or at least that's what he said.
I really like the way Rainbow Dash is sitting in this scene.
No. It's like I just like that she goes upstairs like she's really doesn't have a room. In the original fic she did get a room, but it kind of like it was sort of a superfluous detail to the point we were trying to make to like be like, and then she got a room, but it wasn't really that,
To make amends.
I think you've done enough. Not only did you involve Dash in a horrible crime spree across the city, but now
So when I actually had to redraw the Joker Mort's all the Joker Mort stuff for this because I broke the 180 rule and I had both of the characters facing the same screen direction when they were talking and it didn't make any sense. So I had to redraw it.
we also did have one more thing that come up is in a minute here. The Joker Mort is gonna teleport inside. Like,
Oh.
yeah, no one lets him in. He just like poof inside.
The Joker Mort.
I'm the bat who lived.
Drive him away. Can't you see that I'm in love?
Oh, Dash. Love is why I came here. You see, I've just built a time-activated device. Very soon
I said this time, it's this egg timer. It's full of machinery that activates the device.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's just synchronized to the clock on the actual device.
It could be, but that would be really-
Teleport!
Can you imagine like doing that? See, boom, teleport inside the house. No, let him. Yeah, but it's sort of a. You can overlook that little jump in space time.
There was a magical pony.
Hello.
Well, I'll be a monkey's mama. Hey, LaFonda!
What?
So that's the Ford Pinto Batmobile in the background.
Yep, souped up. It's like a lot more expensive than you would think to make a Batmobile.
Yeah. Well, I went out of my way to choose the crappiest car I could think of. And like a Ford Pinto, yeah, those explode when you hit the back of the car, so perfect.
Is that like a bill you gotta pay for the city, or is that like a leak or something?
You see? I told you. It took
And here's the scene with like 10 characters in it.
the other 5.
Easily written, hard to draw.
Yeah, it's not one of those things that you think about when you're writing. You're just like, and then all the characters drop in. You're like, oh, that's
I'm like,
right.
what?
So now you've got like 6 different,
I always knew I was a
I like that face. Oh my gosh.
One day my wife would find me.
The hardest part is like I had to keep all the characters in the same spot relatively to where they like are standing, and then
Oh, I just want to say that scene right there where she goes, "What have you been eating? Oatmeal?" That was actually Dash's line. Like Dash was like, "Oh, oatmeal," and then you wrote it as Rarity, and I like that was one that I told you. I was like, "Oh my god," I was like, I just totally did Rarity's voice, like completely like freeform. Like, oh crap, that's not good.
but
Well,
it
I mean,
worked.
yeah, for voice acting, I guess it's good that I can just about hit that voice. Like, I've actually practiced it a little bit since then, because normally I pitch the voice up a little bit, because she's a bit more like sass and just like deeper, like but yeah, in that case it just is like easily confused for Rarity, and I was like, oh, so apparently yes, I can just totally do that voice.
Thank you.
Fluttershy still not feminine enough. I'm not feminine enough to do Fluttershy without technological aid.
Ah, this was fun to do.
Yes.
I really like the Joker Mort's pony design. He has no nose.
And he just looks so goofy. But Voldemort always cracked me up as someone who looked really goofy. I always just like to imagine like Joker Mort wakes up every morning and he looks in the mirror, or not, or, Voldemort. He looks in the mirror and he just goes, "Yes, this is the face of fear. This is the face that will conquer all of magical Britain." Like, oh man.
The rubber chicken holding a knife.
Yes. So Boudica, this is actually the entire reason for her character, was just to give Harry a little bit of closure, so that no one would feel sorry for him at the end. Because it's like, yeah, he loses Dash, but then he kind of gets another emotional crutch.
He gets a life.
Yeah, he gets a life, and like he sort of needed someone there to like keep him from getting too needy, but Boudica's actually like dependable. So what Harry really needed, it wasn't like a daughter, because a daughter is a responsibility. He needed someone to really kind of look after him and take care of him. That was my impression of the original fic. So we tied him together with Boudica, because Boudica was like the warrior queen, She wasn't going to take any guff, and she was going to kind of run stuff.
That toothbrushing device, you wrote that, and I was like thinking, like, what's a more practical thing? So I was thinking of like some sort of hoof thing that would attach to the hoof or something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna make it the most ridiculous, impractical toothbrushing device ever.
The Borg toothbrush helmet.
Yeah, it's like a big helmet thing.
Yay! Everyone is Dash's friend.
And otherwise, she did okay.
She would have had a zillion friends if she'd been allowed outside anyway. It's just that when she got back to Ponyville, she was allowed to kind of go around and do stuff.
That was me watching Mystery Science Theater on the screen.
Yes, Alan has got like I don't know how much they have released on DVD, but he's got, I don't know, he's got a bunch of stuff from them. I know that some of it was never released on DVD.
Yeah, because apparently it's really expensive to get the rights to the video or the movies that they
watched.
Yeah, like the way it works, I guess. Like if they had the rights to play the movies on their channel, so they could technically do whatever they want with them. But to release them on DVD, it's an entire different thing.
Really? See, I don't know. That's one of those things like we've been having all the copyright issues, and when you get into copyright law, I actually had a law student send me interview questions, and he goes, what would you recommend to other independent performers regarding copyright? And I would say, don't get involved. I told him, don't get involved with it, because the more that you research on it, the more you realize that the laws are, like you think that like the average law you think is like speeding, and. Of course, we got Fluttershy here before we go deep into whatever.
The scene, I couldn't sleep one night, and I just thought, I kind of want to do something after the credits with Fluttershy.
It's like, and it turns out that Monkey Dad was right all along. The CIA was just waiting for this opportunity. Of course, it created a lot of like holes for some people. They were like, but everyone is ponies then. Like, why did they still kidnap her?
I remember I had this big discussion in the comments over like, no, it makes sense. I'm making up my own rules as to why this makes sense. They're like, yeah, well, your rules I don't believe your rules. I'm like, well, too bad.
There's just something about Fluttershy. There's some magical property about her that just makes her the target of horrible things.
Yes.
And the fact that she accepts it too is, I think we've talked about before that that's part of the joke with Fluttershy. Is just that she's almost. It's been an ongoing effort, but at this point, the people who have been fans for a while had just gotten used to seeing Fluttershy in misery, and now they just laugh at it. But when we first started, like they were like, "Oh, why are you so mean to Fluttershy?" Because they feel bad for her. So it's just it's sort of an interesting, I guess, sociological phenomenon that when you just see someone like suffering and suffering and suffering, and at first you kind of like want to stand up for them, but then after a while, when you realize that they never stand up for themselves, you eventually just kind of like are like, okay, that maybe is where that person sort of just belongs in. So it's like, yeah, Fluttershy, like you could help her up, like you could put her in charge of something, but she's one of those personalities that would eventually, she would just fall right out of whatever graces you provided for her. So, it's kind of like it. But that's also why almost every episode she's in, it's always like, Fluttershy grows a spine for just this episode, and then she loses it at the end of the episode. So it's like, okay. I don't know.
I really liked her in the Discord episode. I thought she accomplished quite a feat in that episode.
She did, but she did it as kind of like an abused housewife. It was just one of those things. Like, she's like, yeah. I trust him. And they're like, yeah, but he's totally untrustworthy. He's the god of chaos. And she's like, I trust him anyway. And there are probably limits, like the whole idea of like, oh, we'll just we'll conform the god of chaos. Okay, so it worked. Maybe there are some people who have a theory that it didn't really work. That Discord is just biding his time, which I kind of like that theory a little bit more. But it probably depends on which writer is doing what. Yeah, but in any case, they're just the needs of the episode or what they want to teach.
Yes.
But anyway, though, so we're saying the copyright stuff is you're getting into like it's just so complex. It's one of those things like most laws you think of them as being like speeding. You know, like if you go over the speed limit, then you've broken the law, you get arrested. It's very clear. You're either speeding or you're not. But with copyright laws, it's you can break the law more easily than you can understand how you broke the law, and so we got into that kind of thing. So like I said, I got that interview and. He goes, what would you recommend? And I said, I'd recommend to never get involved with any kind of copyright. I mean, like, even handling your own copyrights. Like, if we were worried about the copyrights of Lord of the Dwarves or whatnot, like, technically there are provisions in place to protect our work if we were to pursue, protection of that work. But there are so many rules, and it's all just so wacky. Like, we would really, I mean, as an independent artist, you really need a lawyer. I mean, it's kind of crazy. But if you're not armed with the weapon of knowledge, then you have no advantages. So,
yep.
It's
also, if you just kind of let people, I don't know, like allow people to make their own fan works and do whatever they want, it almost like you get more of a cooler respect, I guess, and also you kind of get like free publicity that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone spreads it around, which I think is why, and actually too, this is one of those things is that. Like I said, some people that get really angry and they're like, oh, Hasbro, like what a terrible corporate entity and all this stuff. And actually, as far as companies go, they're well regarded as having pretty decent ethics. They're up there on the list of like top 100 employers on CNN, stuff like that. They're really not, as far as companies go, they're really not one of the worst ones out there. I feel like
they're not Viacom.
Yeah, they're not actively trying to like destroy things. Viacom, I think, might be kind of trying to change the web paradigm, because I mean stuff like when they sue YouTube. I mean, if they can create like a legal precedent where they can sue YouTube for allowing certain kinds of videos on their site, or I mean, even though YouTube doesn't really allow copyright infringements, if they set a legal precedent, then it creates like a whole new kind of situation. And actually, the lawsuits involving Viacom have resulted in a lot of the bureaucratic system that you see now, and it's just trust me, Viacom is not making it easy for any of us out there trying to get ahead. And I think that they do that on purpose. And in fact, they do that stuff, and it kind of makes me wonder about guys like the actor who plays Fred. YouTube's Fred. That guy's an actor, by the way. If you did not know, he's not really a spastic hyperactive kid. He's an actor.
He's not.
Yeah, no, Fred is a character. He's got a real name. He's not Fred. He's just an actor, and not a bad.
I thought he was 3 years old.
No, yeah, well, he's okay. He's a decent actor. He's a good actor. And but anyway, though, Nickelodeon, I believe, who's a subsidiary of Viacom, they hired him, and so I'm just kind of curious about what kind of deal he actually wound up with. I tried to look into it a little bit, but couldn't really find. I don't know, my Google foo is weak. Either that or it's not public information, and I could not find. But yeah, I was just curious about how that went, because like I said, Viacom seems like a company that's trying to put an end to this whole idea that you can just get on the internet. They kind of don't seem to like that very much.
They're like Judge Doom. They're trying to buy the internet so they can dismantle it.
And just take it down.
That's how it's working.
Yeah, so the whole communication thing. But I don't know, it's just a strange world, because like I say, like at this point, I mean, like just about, I mean, people violate copyright laws pretty much as more, maybe even more casually than you speed, because when you break the law by speeding, it's assumed that you have like a driver's license and you went through driver's tests and stuff like that. You've been trained to drive, and so you should in theory know all the laws about driving. But like copyright violations, like no one is really trained to be a personality online or whatnot. I mean, like we don't have a license. We have an LC, but that's mostly just because I was like, okay, so I mean, even then, even when I first established the limited company, I was looking at it and I was like, so yeah, so we're doing like parodies. And I was like, it seems like parodies are like lightning rods for some reason. And at the I should probably maybe I should have looked a little bit more into that. But anyway, this was like, so yeah, so I think maybe I'll just put everything under a limited liability company, because if I ever get into legal trouble, I certainly don't want them to show up and just like, empty out my entire bank account and everything that I own. That would be truly terrible. So yes, so in theory, all our assets are liquid. Well, all we really have is liquid assets. But those liquid assets are all taken care of. We know exactly what we've earned and whatnot. So if we ever got into like serious legal trouble, then we know how much money we would lose in theory. Although there's also a bunch of fines that you get if you get put down on a legal thing. But again, it's one of those things. It's like I as well as I've tried to understand it, there's really no beating having a real like true blue lawyer to look after it and figure it out, and we cannot afford that kind of thing. So we're kind of relying on a little bit on I don't know. You just kind of have to rely on the good grace of the company that owns the original copyright, more or less. I mean, like there are laws that sort of protect us, but we would have to argue. It's a defense. So I mean, like if we got sued, we would have to defend ourselves, and we'd have to be able to out argue Hasbro's lawyers, who are, of course, like they're good lawyers. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this video's getting kind of long now, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they're tired of looking at this revolving sun that flickers every 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So yes, so that is a little bit on copyright, and of course some insight into My Little Dashie. So yes, do you have anything left to add? I kind of dominated that for a while.
No, I don't have anything left to add.
Okay, all right. Then we will see you another time, ladies and gentlemen.
Adios.
Goodbye.